Hello, Salemites. Welcome to Salem. This is your day's Daily Dose TV, and I do have my microphone plugged in. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody had a great Easter. What's going on in Salem this week? This is from Monday, April 10th to Friday, which is today, April 14th. Oh my goodness, so much going on in Salem this week. You've got to see it. Okay, so we start off Monday. Chad goes over and visits Marlena. He wanted to see for himself that she actually was alive, and, they had some touching moments. Stephanie was also on her way to see Marlena. She wants to get Marlena to hypnotize her to see if she can remember anything from her phone call with her mother. So she goes over, and she didn't know Chad was going to be there, but he was just leaving, but he stayed. And while she asked Stephanie, could she hypnotize her to see if she could come, if she said something else. And she did. She actually remembered that she said Victor Kiriakis. She said, I know it sounds crazy, she said, but I'm pretty sure he said Victor Kiriakis. And that's when, Marlena said, well, Victor Kiriakis had a lot more. Maybe that was Maggie that told him earlier. Because her and Chad tried to go talk to Victor. And he was out of town, of course. And he's dead, actually, in real life. May he rest in peace, John Aniston. And they told him, he was out. So they went to talk to Maggie, and she told him, told them, Stephanie and Chad, that, Victor had lots of properties in Greece, and they asked if they could have, like, a list or something, because they believed Kayla might be being held hostage over there. So she does. She sends them a list. I keep thinking that this whole Victor Kiriakis thing, Chad, Stephanie, ran into Alex in the square, and he overheard them saying they were going to find her mother, and she's like, what, your mother's not dead? He's like, that's great, that means I didn't keep you from saying your last goodbyes to your mother. And they all just kind of looked at each other. Sorry, Alex, but I don't think that's going to make a difference. To Stephanie, who's real into the Chadster. Okay, so I keep thinking somehow Alex is going to be able to help with this and ends up being the hero at the end of the day, I don't know. We'll just have to see where that goes. I really want Stephanie and Chad to be together. I don't want Chad to be hurt anymore. And Stephanie's a nice girl, so let's just put them together, shall we? Meanwhile, Wendy, which this comes to bite her in the ass this week, made the mistake of telling Johnny, you should have asked me before you had made plans for us, because I have a date with Tripp. Which is how he found out she was going to date Tripp and him. But he gets her back today, on Friday. Not intentionally or anything like that. So they have a date all set up. And then Stephanie gets a call, and Joey has been in a car accident. So Stephanie is going to go back to Seattle, but Tripp says, he's going to do it. He's a doctor. He's going to go back. So he tells Wendy that he's, and have you seen Wendy this week? This week, they are really moving on. She started out in wearing sloppy clothes, and it just made her look, like an oversized army jacket or something. It wasn't an army jacket, but she was a slob. And she really didn't look, there wasn't anything feminine about her. Then they started putting her in a dress here and there. And now today they had her belly button showing. Woo-hoo. In a real cute little skirt, but an ugly as shit vest. Who dresses these people? Anyway, some people get dressed very well. I've only seen Gabby in a couple things that were not very flattering to her. Everything else, she is dressed to the nines. So, Tripp's headed off to Seattle to tend to Joey because, of course, their mom is missing and their dad is also missing, trying to find their mom. So Hope and Harris, they're also looking for Kayla. Of course, they think Thomas Banks has her. Is it Banks? Thomas somebody has her. And so they're in Greece looking for her. They go back to this little restaurant that they had originally met, and the guy there remembered them. At first, he was ready to kill Harris because he read about what he did to Hope and different people. And then he said that he remembered them and how Hope danced on tables and stuff. So he says, at least let me prepare a meal for you. So, you know, Hope is dressed all conservative and like a woman her age should dress, actually. I'm not going to say that because I don't see anything wrong with her wearing a short skirt or some lower shirts, you know, not the kind that Ben's wife wears. We don't need all that going on. But she's always respectfully dressed. And they danced, and next thing you know, Hope's doing this this nonsense. And her and Harris seem to really, of course, she has no idea that her beau's still alive, but they had split up and gotten divorced. So, you know, according to Beau, that ship has sailed. Okay, so they have a night doing that and just having fun. I guess I'm not really a big fan of Harris. I don't know. At first I was, because I thought he seemed like he really cared about the Hope, and I believe that he does, but he's going to get in the way of Beau and Hope. But I don't like the new Beau, so, you know, he just might just need to go on and stay in Greece. So, everybody's trying to get the prisms. And Rolf and Megan had them. They were at Megan's compound. So, Beau finds out from Kayla that, of course, he's waiting for Kayla to mix up this youth serum that Rolf was working on. So he can be rich for the rest of his life. And start over and make his own empire and all that jazz. Well, he found out because Kayla told him, you know, his instructions are sort of incomplete, and I would need the 3 prisms. So he goes to get the prisms. He says he's Shane Donovan, and he wants the prisms that they found with Rolf. Just assuming, I guess. I don't know. I don't even remember exactly how they went down, but that's kind of how it went. So he's all dressed up in a suit, and the guy tells him, well, you just go wait. Meanwhile, Alex has already made a deal to offer one of the officers buku bucks for the prisons, but Maggie cut that deal down. She said, you're not going to use Titan funds to ship off to some criminal, and we have no way of knowing. They're not even a reputable business. No, Alex, no. So, you know, he had to call and cancel that. But they tell Beau to go wait in the room while they get everything together. While he's waiting, Patch comes in and says, I'm working for the ISA, and I need to collect all the stuff that was with Rolf Wilhelm, or whatever it is. I think it's Wilhelm. The guy says, Willie, well, we've already got Shane Donovan here for that stuff. And he's like, really? Shane's here? He said, yes, he's in that room. If you want to go wait with him, I'll be in there in a few minutes. So he goes in there, and Beau has his back to him. He turns around, and he's like shocked that it's Beau. Of course, he goes over and he starts hugging him and stuff, and he's just assuming it's the same old Beau. It don't take him long to figure out that Beau's not the same old Beau. But, you know, Patch was telling him, no, man, we gotta go. What's his name? Thomas has got Kayla. And he's like, what makes you think that? And he said, well, that's what Megan told us. And Beau said, well, Megan lied to you. I've got Kayla. And Patch has got, what? He said, I've got Kayla. They had some words, and they ended up struggling. And Beau whips out a knife, and Patch is like, you're not going to do it, buddy. And he's like, well, I took out that one eye, didn't I? And he said, you can't do it. You can't do it. He went to stab him, and he didn't, of course, take out his eye. But he did get a little mess up on the head, and he was kind of out of it. Because when Beau took him out of there, he was stumbling and all bent over in handcuffs. And he takes him back and throws him in the room with all the wine and the love letters, Love, Luv, maybe, from Victor to Caroline. And they were very sad. So, anyway, takes him back, throws him in there together. And Kayla and Patch have figured out that Bo's been brainwashed. He's under some kind of influence. He's not the Bo we know and love. But they spend a lot of time, and that's on Tuesday, just hanging out. Kayla finds love letters that Victor wrote to Caroline. And they were so sweet and sad at the same time. Well, one letter. There was some more papers in there. I just assumed they were letters. Love letters. But she only read the one. And she said it made her a little sad. You know, she told Pat, she said, you know, of course I'm glad my mom stayed with Pops. Remember Pops? Pop Brady. And she said, but it's still sad that he pined for her for so long. I think Caroline and Victor did have a really strong love, and Caroline just stayed with Sean because she did love him, and they had a family together. She had a responsibility. And the Bradys were big on responsibility back in the day. We move on to Tuesday the 11th, and that's where you see Kayla and Patch. They're just hugging each other. They're so glad to be together. Patch is so glad she's alive. You know, and she's kind of doctoring his cut on his face. Brady fills Marlena in on his situation with Rachel and Chloe. And did that happen this week when Rachel's a snot, you know, and she was busy telling Chloe, I hate you. And you hate me too, just admit it. And Chloe said, all right, I hate you. You know, I might hate Rachel myself. She's such a little pig. I mean, not a little pig, little snot, little brat. That's what I'm looking for, a little pig. She's not a little pig. She don't look like a pig. Don't snork like a pig. She's not even a little overweight girl. Which, that would be mean to call a little anybody overweight a pig. It's rude. No, what are you going to do? I just meant she's a little brat. I couldn't find the right word. So, you know, and Marlena's like, oh no, I wish she hadn't have done that. Because, you know, Rachel's just acting out pain that she has. And, you know, they talked about how much trouble she had. She had the same situation with when she married John with Brady and Sammy. And Brady was like, I'm so sorry, Marlena. And she's like, but you grew out of it. And everything worked out fine. And me and John just went on and got married. We don't listen to you crazy kids. Okay, so Chloe and Xander are just hanging out together. Chloe needs the distraction, believe me. And they're drinking beer, they're playing darts, they're laughing, they're having fun. I think Brady ran across them the first person. And, you know, she just said they were just hanging out. But they're sitting there, and in comes Gwen. Like, she's got a right to say anything to anybody. So, she just goes on and she's like, well, it looks like all the rumors are true. And they're laughing and having fun, and Chloe's like, what rumors? And she said, well, according to Leo, you two are the hottest couple in Salem now. You know, didn't nobody say that? She's such a drama queen. I don't like her. I wish they'd run over her. I wish when Abigail's mom, Jennifer, had ran over her, I wish she'd have been dead. I mean, it's not, you know, anything to do with the actress herself, but I don't like that character. Don't like Gwen. I could care less if she's on the show. Now, Leo, he's pretty funny, but Gwen, she's just a bitch that keeps getting away with everything. And it's not right. You'll think she's getting what's coming to her, and then she gets out of it somehow. Or there's a silver lining, or she gets broke out of jail. You know, this is me off. Anyway, so she's talking to them, and Xander's like, what's the matter with you? We're only having a drink, and hanging out. We're just friends. And she said, really? Well, what about this picture? And she showed him a picture that Leo had snapped. And he's like, so? He said, and she said, yeah, he told me he stopped that article from being published, and I hugged him, and that was it. A thank you hug. Really? That's not what it looks like. Come on, why don't you just admit it? I mean, if you didn't want to be with me, you could have just told me. You didn't have to lie to me, saying that you just weren't ready for any relationships now because you were still hung up on Sarah. And he's like, all right, I admit it. I'm in a relationship with Chloe. And he grabbed her and he kissed her. And then she's just like, Gwenny's like, you, pig. And he runs out of there. She runs out of there. I'm thinking, what are you doing overreacting for, you nut? God, I hate Gwen. I hate her. I wish they'd take her ass off the show. So, and another actress playing her wouldn't make it better. I don't like Gwen. It's the character. She's a murderer. She's a conniver. She's too much. She thinks she deserves everything, and she never gets it, and she can't figure out why. Duh. Okay, so, get off Gwen's butt for a minute. Yeah, Gwen accuses them of an affair. Oh, is that everything for the Tuesday? I think it might be. And then we move on to Wednesday, the 12th. Some of the days were pretty short because they focused on just one thing or one conversation and just kept dragging on. Wednesday, the 12th. Jada goes over to talk to Sloan. Sloan's not home, so she gets the super to let her in because she has a warrant. And she's checking out her apartment for any clues, that she might have anything to do with threatening Paulina. And we know that she doesn't, don't we? We've seen a little surprise today. Okay, so, and I was shocked. Okay, so, oh, that's funny. That's for Thursday. Okay, so Sloan goes off on Leo about his column about her. They get into it, and he says, give me your side, girlfriend. I'll publish it. She's like, you would twist everything around. So whether she told him anything or not, it really didn't show us. Oh, okay. I forgot. When I made a little note, and I've got to say this. So, when Gwen was at the pub going off on Chloe and Xander, look at you, obviously you're a couple. She said, why would you want anything to do with this Greg's useless daughter? Something about Greg Weston's daughter. And she said, and this woman has treated Leo like he was dirt. And Chloe said, yeah, because that's how you treat dirt. He is dirt. And it was so funny. It was so funny. I love when somebody called Leo another worm this week. Oh, I think it was Sloan called him a worm. He's definitely a worm. More than one person has said that. Sloan and Chanel get on a little fight where they're slapping each other because Sloan ended up calling Paulina a bitch, an obnoxious bitch, and she said something else in there with it, but Chanel's like, oh, you did not just call my mama a bitch. She said, You left out obnoxious. And, you know, what's her name? I keep wanting to call her Rebel. What is her name? Chanel. She flew into her. She smacked the crap out of her, and they started smacking each other and running around the square. It was quite entertaining. But you know, I would have thought when Chanel slapped her first, she'd go take charges out against her, but she didn't. She got back in there and hit her back. I feel bad for Sloan. Sloan's got a broken heart. She's still that little girl that lost her parents, and I don't think she's ever going to get over that without any counseling. And even then, they got in a pretty bad, fast fist fight. And she clawed Chanel. Chanel's arm was bleeding. So Talia was over there fixing it up. And they had some kind of look between them. I almost think there's going to be some kind of little relationship between Talia and, what's her name? Rebel? Chanel. So we see when it's going off air Wednesday that someone... Well, we don't see them break into the bakery, but we see them go into the bakery and they put something on the dough. There's dough in there resting. They've, I guess, got ready for the biscuits in the morning. And then we move to Thursday, the 13th. How many minutes do we have? Okay, so we're on Thursday now, the 13th. And they're giving away these biscuits, advertising them out in the square. Rebel and Talia, which Rebel is Chanel. And Chanel's like, I deserve something. I'm going to taste one of these biscuits. I haven't even had one. So she took a taste of them and she said, Talia, these biscuits are slap your mama good biscuits. Oh man, these are slap your mama good biscuits. So that was funny. Slap your mama good biscuits. Eric takes Sloan some sweet bits, some coffee, some biscuits, and they have a big fight about it. She's like very offended. How could you? After all they've done to my family, to my mother, to me, my father. And he's like, because I wanted you to move on. I wanted you to get over this. You know, they got in a big fight. She pretty much broke up with him and told him to get his stuff out. Or better yet, she would have it sent to him. So she called it his pile of garbage or whatever. I don't know. She put him down somehow. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so quite a few people have the biscuits. Now, the biscuits are poisoned. They're drugged. They're tainted. We later find out they're tainted with something that not only causes hallucinations, but it's a little bit of an aphrodisiac. It creates all kinds of crazy mismatches and scenarios for Thursday and Friday in Salem. So who all ate the biscuits? Gabby had a biscuit. Stefan, Johnny, Nicole, EJ, Chanel, Trask. Rafe had him some biscuits. Doesn't look like Talia ate any, but there's a reason for that. Stick around, clown. It's unbelievable. Okay, so EJ busts Stefan with the pictures, calls him a traitor because him and Trask are just going around and breakfast and kissing each other and feeding each other biscuits, and he's just like, I will not let you carry on like this when I know you are not having an affair with our DA. You're having an affair with Gabby. And he's like, no, you're wrong. In the secret room where you were last night, and I took pictures and sent them to Lee, where any moment now he will be confronting Gabby. You know, and Trask is like, does that mean I don't have a job anymore? And Stefan said, I'm sorry, but, you know, your behavior was Oscar worthy. And she did. She's quite the actor, as we know. Eric, EJ, and Stefan have some words. And then EJ leaves the room. So then Nicole's walking out, and Stefan does it like this shit to her, like he stomps his foot and lunges toward her, and she don't even budge. I'm like, you think you're gonna scare Nicole? Give me a break. She has boys like you for breakfast, man. You ain't been in Demira that long. Nicole has been around the block. So that was so funny. EJ calls him, you're not even a backstabber. You're worse than anything. You're a traitor. That's what EJ said to Stefan. And I hate that they're fighting. I liked it when they were like buddy. And I thought, oh my God, wouldn't this be great if EJ, Stefan, and Chad, and you could even throw Tony in there, if they all just ran the company together? Wouldn't that be great? In a perfect world. Which this could be a perfect world since it's being written. Sloane, she had confronted Eric, and she's like, you think I'm guilty of all this, don't you? And she's like, just admit it. And he said, okay. It's true, I did think you were guilty. That was right before she kicked him out. So, Eric confesses he thought Sloane was doing all these things to Paulina. I hope one quickie... Oh, that's what EJ said to Stefan. He said, well, I hope one quickie in the basement was worth everything you've lost. I love when EJ's pissed. Everybody's gone about their work day, and Stefan starts to feel lightheaded. He's like, whoa, He goes back up to his room where Trask took a shower, and she's getting ready to leave. But she just gets out of the shower, and she's got her towel on. Stefan comes back in the room, and he doesn't see her as Trask. He sees her as Gabby. So he's like, you're the most beautiful woman, and I can't wait to get you in bed. And he's hugging and kissing and going all over Trask. So they're making out, and she don't understand it, but she's like, all right, because she's got a thing for Stefan. The Demira boys ain't ugly now. So, now Johnny and Chanel, they are at the square where she has fed him some biscuits, and she's been eating them. So they're both a little dizzy and lightheaded and acting all silly and talking about their previous love affair and how much fun they had on their honeymoon in Italy or wherever. And then Johnny and they're both messed up from this drug. And Johnny proposes to her, and he said, what do you say? And she's like, I think I say yes. Which they appear like they're drunk out of their mind. But they're not. They've all been drugged with whatever was put in the dough. So, meanwhile, Wendy is over here, and she happens to walk up on it. Just happens. And she sees him down on his knees and sees her say yes, and they're hugging. And, then Chanel says, well, what are you going to do about Wendy? And then Wendy steps up and says, yeah. You're just going to get married when you're seeing me? And he's like, well, you made it clear that we weren't exclusive. Gotcha, girl. She wants the cake and eat it too. And she don't like it that Johnny is doing the same thing. Too bad. Welcome to America, Wing League. So, she just acts like she's just devastated. And she's so hurt and stuff. She's over here living with Tripp, kissing him and stuff. She ain't got no business getting on Johnny's butt. So, she just couldn't believe it. And he's like, well, I don't know what to tell you, I want to come over to pick you up the other day, and you said you had a date with Tripp. And she's like, well, we didn't go, though. It got canceled. Big deal. So your date didn't work out, so you want to go rain on Johnny's parade? I've always thought him and Chanel should get back together. So you need to move on, Wendy. Go see if you can't get somebody to put some clothes on you that ain't ugly as dirt. So, there's that, and they're still acting silly. And Talia comes out with some more biscuits, and he's like, "Hey, I'll take a few of them." And Chanel's like, "I think you've had enough biscuits." And they're just just acting so silly. Meanwhile, so then Gabby feels lightheaded, and she's back home with Lee. But when she turns and looks at Lee, she sees Stefan. So she's all over him, trying to make out on him. And he realizes that she's hallucinating, but he says he's gonna take advantage of that anyway. So they go into the bedroom, and then he decides he just can't do that because she thinks he's Stefan. And she didn't understand it because they've got that drug. I don't know how many biscuits she had. She had at least one. Lee is bent out of shape and trying to just jump on her, but, getting on her butt about sneaking off with Stefan, but he can't even get a reasonable conversation going with her because she thinks he's Stefan. So, Lee is Stefan. Stefan and Melinda both are hallucinating. Hers doesn't, Trask doesn't kick in until Stefan's has kicked out, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, why am I doing bed with you?" But that doesn't happen until Friday. Nicole starts hallucinating, and she sees Eric in the square when she's on the phone, and she starts hallucinating about him, that he has got on like a pastor's priest collar and stuff, and she's just like, "Oh," and it goes off for Thursday. So Thursday it leaves you with all these odd couples getting ready to get jiggy with each other. Then we go into Friday. Lee realizes that Gabby has been drugged. Gabby starts throwing up, and Lee ends up taking her to the hospital. Rafe is eating a box of the biscuits when Jada comes in to talk to him, and he's like, "This stuff is like crack," and he's talking a million miles a minute. And she's just looking at him, and she's already, what a good detective, right? She's already on to, "You're not acting right." And he continued to act silly and talk to her about them being together regardless of the rules and all kinds of stuff. And then Sloan came in for some reason. Oh, probably to put a restraining order on Chanel. And he thought Sloan was some big bear or something. What was she? It was funny. Anyway, he got dizzy and he passed out. And Jada took him to the hospital. Trask starts throwing up everywhere when she's jumping through the air, trying to get mad at Stefan when he snaps out of it. And she's like, "You playing games with me?" And then she starts throwing up. All of them start throwing up. They get dizzy, they throw up. Rafe's the only one that I know of that passed out. So Stefan's taking Trask to the hospital because she told him, "I need a doctor." So Trask and Gabby are at the hospital so far, right? Stefan's there with her. Okay, so Nicole and Eric must have had some biscuits too, because it was so funny. He was looking at her, she's like, "Eric, what are you doing with the priest's collar on? You can get in trouble for that." And she's like, "Why are you dressed like that?" And he's like, "Dressed like what?" And she's like, "You got the priest's collar and stuff on." He said, "No, I don't." And she said, "Yes, you do. You better get that off and let me take that back, and before somebody sees you and you get in trouble." And then he starts laughing like he's drunk. And they go up to his room, and they're both taking their clothes off. And he looks at Nicole, and she's like in a bikini. And he's like, you're in a bikini. And she's like, I know, how did that happen? Where did my clothes go? And he's like, I don't know. And they did it. And I don't think either one of them threw up. And as of Friday, neither one of them had gone to the hospital. But Sloan comes over to apologize to Eric for being a crazy bitch. And she finally pushes the door back to get in because he's trying to keep her out. And Nicole's in the bed, and she's like, she kicks her legs up, and she's like, Sloan, hey, Sloany Baloney. She called her Sloany Baloney. It was so funny. Oh, that's one of the funniest things that has ever come out. Nicole's like, Sloany Baloney, woo! And kicks up her leg. Oh my God, it was so funny. So Sloane's talking to both of them, and she comes to the conclusion. She said, I think you guys have been drugged, because neither one of you remember this, and they have. So people are starting to figure it out. Jada takes Rafe. Gabby's there. Stefan's there. They're all at the hospital. So I assume Monday they'll find out whatever it was. What's the kicker of the whole thing? How lucky for you if you hung on to the end of the video. Now, normally I tell the highlights at the first of the video. It just so happens that this just happened on today's episode, and it was the last thing as we went off air. So Jada had already went to talk to Chanel and Talia, and she told them she was doing an investigation because all these people were at the hospital sick. And Talia's like, what's that got to do with us? And she said, well, all of them had biscuits. So what's the chances somebody tainted your dough? And Chanel's like, they're high, and I know exactly who did it. And of course, she blamed it on Sloan. I already started to believe. I was like Eric. I believed Sloan. I don't think she's done all this stuff they're saying. So when it's going off today on Friday, you see that person in the hoodie with the gloves, and I thought it was a man because you see their hands when they're putting stuff on the dough, and they look like pretty good sized hands. But I got pretty good sized hands, and I'm not a man. So it goes back and shows that scene again of the person going in, the big hands with the gloves putting the stuff on the dough, and then it pans up to their face. Guess who's poisoning the biscuits at the bakery? Talia. Jada's sister. Why? What's in her background or her history that we don't know? I don't know. But that's it for this week in Salem. Oh, it was a busy but productive week. I can't wait till next week to see what happens. If you haven't subscribed. I'm working on some Days of Our Lives bracelets as we speak. With the little hourglass. That'll just be huge. But anyway, I will see you all in Salem. Make sure you get over there. Record, like, if you like the videos, and see y'all in Salem.